Coming up, we'll talk Riley Kreisel suspension for using his car as a weapon, dirt late model rumors like what exactly is Brandon Overton's future, will streaming services ever release their numbers, and much more on a mailbag edition of the Daily. Let's go. It's Wednesday, October 1st. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. If you spend any amount of time at the racetrack, it's important to protect your hearing. And I'm a big fan of the premium earplugs from Eargasm. They're pretty small. They look like this. They fit right in your ear. But the good thing is you can wear them for protection, but still be able to have a conversation with the people around you. I wear these when the NHRA comes to Charlotte. I've worn them at the dirt track. They're great for the top fuel and funny cars and really anything that you're going to go see. I know my wife has actually even worn them at concerts when things get just a little bit too loud. I will warn you, they are pricey, but if you use code DIRTRACKR10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order at eargasm.com. That's code DIRTRACKR10 at checkout for 10% off over at eargasm.com. Earlier this week, I hit up the DIRTRACKR Patreon supporters and the YouTube channel members for questions, and there are a bunch of good ones in there that I want to answer today. If you want to be able to take part in future Q&A episodes on the show, go to visit patreon.com/DIRTRACKR and join up, or become a channel member on YouTube by clicking the join button at youtube.com/DIRTRACKR. The first question is from Ryan. He's a regular around here on the YouTube channel. He asked, with POWRi suspending Riley Kreisel for his actions at the Hocka McMillan Memorial, there seems to be a trend in on-track retaliation. Are we seeing a trend in excessive gut reactions using the vehicles as a weapon? And he says, I know you've talked about the various late model chaoses. This is definitely something I heard about, but it's been so busy with all of the other things going on, I completely forgot to add it to my list of show topics, so I'm glad Ryan brought this up. This suspension was handed down back on September 24th, and the release from POWRi read in part, quote, during green flag competition in the POWRi War MWRA Challenge Series feature, contact occurred between Landon Simon and Riley Kreisel, after which Kreisel slowed and brought out the caution. As officials attempted to direct the number 91 off the track and into the work area, Kreisel accelerated and struck the number 24 of Landon Simon, causing damage to the rear tail tank and bumper. After both cars came to a stop on the backstretch, Kreisel exited his car and attempted to inflict further damage on the number 24 before POWRi and Lucas Oil Speedway officials intervened and removed him from the scene, unquote. POWRi officials suspended Kreisel from all POWRi sanctioned events for 6 months. They fined him $1,000, and once he's reinstated, he'll then be on probation for another 6 months. Start to Finish TV has race highlights that show the initial incident between the two if you want to see it, but they don't have footage of the stuff under caution, and I'm assuming it's behind their paywall. If you didn't see it, though, the two were battling inside the top 5. Kreisel had gotten by Landon Simon, and then Simon tried to drive back by him on down the backstretch, kind of right rear to left front, broke Kreisel's front end. He hit the wall, and obviously things transpired from there. As Ryan pointed out, though, in his question, we've seen a number of these types of incidents this season, with the two that easily come to mind being the issue at Port Royal in that crate late model feature, and Bob Gardner turning Darren Klein over in Mars late model competition. I don't know if it's recency bias, but it does feel like there have been more of these than normal, which that's not great. The big one I remember from last year was Brandon Anderson getting suspended from ASCS action for a year for going after Alex Sewell. And before that, I don't really remember. I don't have one that comes to mind before that. And I know these drivers and teams put a lot into their racing programs, but just by the nature of the sport, sometimes stuff is going to happen and guys are going to get crashed. And I don't know that I have a great answer for why it seems like this has happened more, but I do feel like it's a good thing that we've seen the series respond in big ways. These types of deals can't devolve, and it needs to be clear that these actions are not going to be tolerated. Racing is dangerous enough as it is. And as they say at the Chili Bowl, if you want to fight, do it on the front stretch in front of the crowd and make a show out of it. I don't have any problem with folks being mad when things go south, but just handle it the right way. Next question came from Dalton over on Patreon. He asked if there are going to be any big changes in the late model world, and I'm assuming he means silly season stuff. I've talked about this a little bit here and there on the show, but as of right now, I don't know of any earth-shattering moves that are coming. We've talked about Dalton Wilson likely being gone from the 18D, and there's potentially a ride open with Skyline after Mike Marlar departed. I've also talked about the Joseph Joyner, JCM Lucas stuff, and there will be other things that happen. I'm trying right now to run down rumors about a current Lucas team and driver potentially being done on tour. Once I kind of know more about that or understand what that situation is, I'll share that on the show. But I haven't heard about any changes for any teams in, say, the top 15 or 18 in the Dirt on Dirt top 25. Given their underwhelming performances this season, I know some folks were talking about Brandon Overton's status with the Longhorn Factory team and Riggs Motorsports, but I sent some messages after I'd heard some stuff after the late model Knoxville Nationals. I was told by some very good sources that no changes are expected for that team for 2026. I certainly wouldn't say there couldn't be a surprise or two, but I definitely wouldn't expect things to be crazy in late model racing like they have been in recent years and like they currently are in sprint car racing. Up next from Patreon was Kyle. He says, do you think the streaming services will ever release their viewership numbers? From a marketing standpoint for all involved, I wonder if the numbers were public, would it help the tracks, teams, etc. to better build their marketing proposals to potential partners if they could show those who are wanting to watch how many eyeballs are on us. Also, just from a curiosity standpoint, to dig into the analytics of what series, tracks, day of week, etc. draw the most viewers. I understand the streaming services have no obligation to release these figures, and I don't blame them for not doing so. I could see both sides of it from their business standpoint as well. Just with it being such a large part of the sport these days, the transparency would be nice and could benefit many in the industry, I feel, he says. Streaming numbers, something we've talked about here previously and not all that long ago with the recent Flow Racing outage. It sent a number of viewers over to YouTube where things were a bit more public facing. But outside of what we can derive from things like YouTube and public reporting about TV ratings, I don't know that we'll get weekly or monthly updates from Flow or Dirt Vision about what their viewership numbers are. But I do know that some info is available to teams and participants, and I know this because I've seen and been sent some of those reports. I do agree, though, that when it comes to selling sponsorships, it's hyper valuable for teams to have that information available. But I get why those companies might want to keep some of those numbers private, and as private businesses, they're under no obligation to share. But the teams in the series do need to understand that they need each other to be successful, and there's no racing without either side, and we can throw the tracks in here as well. The fractured nature of the sport is honestly one of the biggest reasons why we don't see it grow much larger than it is. Bringing things all together was actually the original idea for the first iteration of what later became World Racing Group, but I don't know that it's possible to just unite everything. The space is just so wide and varied. The final Patreon question I have is from Bruce, who asks, what are race of the year candidates? And I'm unfortunately the wrong person to ask this type of question to because I just have the memory of a goldfish. I don't remember what happened yesterday. I'll leave this one open, though, to show watchers. They can contribute through the comments section and throw out their race of the year candidates. Back to YouTube questions. Barry asks, is there any other series running close on the points as high limit for the championship? And the answer here is yes. There are still a few tight points battles out there. The first that comes to mind is the USAC Midget Battle. Kenna McIntosh, Justin Grant, Kevin Thomas Jr., Jacob Denny, all separated by 72 points there. The Short Track Super Series South Region, 25 points between Matt Shepard and Alex Payne. And out west, the NARC Sprint Car Championship still very close. DJ Neto, Sean Becker, Bud Kading, Dominic Gordon, all just 63 points apart. There are likely some others out there in regional competition as well. I know the Mars modified deal is still pretty tight, for example. Not everything, though, is a blowout this year. I had Ed. He asked about Rico Abreu's high-limit franchise with the TSR deal. They shared on the announcement day that TSR is leasing the franchise from Rico Abreu Racing, so Rico retains ownership there. A couple more here, and then we'll shut it down for the day. Tim asked about a rumor about Allison Raceway in Iowa starting back up. That's one I don't know about. Maybe a commenter has a better idea there. Next, Sean asks, with my home track, West Virginia Motor Speedway, announcing that the World of Outlaws late models will be coming June 12th, 13th in 2026, it raises the question, will tracks continue to stay in line with World Racing Group sanctioned events, or could we see more of them exploring Lucas or high limit dates as well? Have you heard any rumblings of tracks or major events switching affiliations, and do you think this kind of movement is ultimately good or bad for the sport? And I don't know at this time about any major event shakeups for next year. I'm talking about sprint car and late model stuff and crown jewel events, but the schedules, they change every year. Tracks and series try things, and I wouldn't doubt that there are going to be moves and shifting for 2026. We've seen some higher profile shutouts of series from tracks. And if you think about, Port Royal and WRG not coming together on any sort of agreement, there's no high limit at Knoxville, things like that. But there are plenty of other tracks that host races from all different sides. Tulare is an example, so is Eldora. So many things are about relationships and who's in charge, and some of that stuff is just very fluid. It can kind of change in an instant. I don't think the schedules will be quite the battleground we've seen in the last year or two, as everyone will continue kind of getting better at figuring out how to coexist and what works and what doesn't work. But whether it's good for the sport, bad for the sport, I don't know how you kind of measure that or decide that type of thing. It's just going to be the types of events that work for the series, what makes money, what doesn't make money, and the very easy thing that all the schedule stuff comes down to is if events make money, if they're good, they'll come back. If they don't, they're going to disappear. Fantasy Man wants to know where drivers are going that have announced departures so far, and where I have information on those drivers. I've tried to share that on the show. Sheldon to KCP is one example. I've heard Donnie Schatz likely has his deal lined up, but we probably won't know what it is until closer to World Finals. I don't think any late model drivers have announced departures outside of Mike Marlar, and we know he's back to Delk. Emerson Axum likely will be back with KPM. Gio Selzy going to be in that second CMR deal that will be a partnership with Spire. I think that's kind of really all that's out there right now. And finally, Ben asks, with all the doom and gloom I hear about non-wing racing, low car count, small purses, drivers moving on to wing 410s, what is it going to take to grow non-wing racing? That is certainly a good question, and one I think a lot of folks would like to know the answer to, and I don't know that there is a great answer out there. The major focus in sprint car racing has been on wing stuff for many decades now, and I don't know how you supplant series like the Outlaws or High Limit with non-wing stuff. All the big events are winged, so that means the best payouts and the biggest audiences, and that's going to draw the best drivers. According to SprintCarRatings.com, the top 40 drivers in wing competition this year have all earned at least $100,000 in race winnings. On the non-wing side, the number is just 3. So people will say, oh, just up the purses. That will get all the drivers to come over there. But that's a quick way to lose a lot of money for series and tracks if they can't convince fans to come watch. And the fans won't come without the big stars. So it feels just like a big vicious circle. It doesn't help as well that non-wing is viewed as more dangerous. There's a reason why you don't see Kyle Larson run non-wing anymore, Donnie Schatz or David Gravel or Brad Sweet, or insert your favorite driver here. USAC, for example, they put on great shows. They've got some really good marquee events. There's some fun personalities, but I just don't know that we'll ever see a non-wing event that's as big as the Kings Royal or the Knoxville Nationals. And I know that answer is going to make the non-wing crowd mad at me. They don't like that I don't talk about this stuff more and that I don't make non-wing stuff more of a focus for the show, but it's honestly not my choice. I think people don't realize sometimes that I don't decide what's popular. You guys do, so keep that in mind. All right, that's plenty for today. Thanks to everybody who submitted questions. We'll do it again here soon. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.